Air has always been taken for granted, an invisible gift, shared by all. Yet, what we never understood was that this gift could be a curse to others. To breathe on Earth is to touch life itself, but for the strangers who came from beyond, it was something else entirely, a poison they had no defense against. I had always wondered about the fragility of existence, how it felt so natural to draw in breath without thinking. It's in our nature, we humans. We do not question what sustains us until it is threatened. But the visitors questioned nothing, and the air we breathe, so harmless to us, tore them apart from the inside out. Their arrival had not been an invasion, nor an act of war. But in their dying gasps, we found ourselves facing an enemy we didn't even know existed, our own air. There was a beauty in the way they collapsed, almost like leaves falling from a tree when the seasons turn. Their bodies, fragile, thin, and ethereal, twisted and curled, as if folding back into themselves. The air that kept us alive was their undoing. I watched from the observation deck, the sight both mesmerizing and horrifying. In that moment, I realized something that every human on this planet had long forgotten. We are prisoners of our atmosphere, dependent on it to survive, and yet oblivious to its subtle power. The aliens had traveled light years, survived in the dark silence of space, but the moment they tasted our air, they withered. The universe is full of irony. It's beautiful, isn't it? Someone whispered beside me. I didn't need to look to know it was Jonah Eric, the same man who had trained us for years, expecting war with whatever might come from the stars. Yet no battle had been fought today. Earth itself had become our greatest weapon, and no one had seen it coming. It's tragic, I replied, unable to tear my eyes away from the screen. It wasn't the kind of death anyone had prepared for, neither them nor us. There had been no weapons, no grand strategies. The invaders had simply arrived, expecting communication, perhaps trade, perhaps war. They were ready for anything except the air. Humanity's first encounter with intelligent life beyond our solar system had begun, and ended with a breath. As I sat in the briefing room, surrounded by scientists, military officials, and the curious silence of unanswered questions, I found myself thinking about life in the simplest terms. Every living thing on Earth breathes the same air. It binds us all together in a delicate web of life, one we rarely think about until it's taken from us. But today, we had seen that air wasn't a gift to everyone. Their biological structures were unlike anything we've seen, Dr. Rebecca Wu explained, her voice measured but filled with an undercurrent of awe. It's not the oxygen, it's not the nitrogen, or even the trace gases. It's the interaction, the unique combination of Earth's elements. It's almost like our atmosphere is a key, and their bodies are the lock. But the key, it doesn't fit. Jonah Eric stood at the edge of the room, arms crossed, staring at the holographic display of the alien bodies. His face was a mask of stoic control, but I knew him well enough to sense the questions simmering beneath. "We've always feared this moment," Jonah said quietly, his voice cutting through the room's tension. "Aliens arriving on our planet. We prepared for their weapons, their ships. But this, the air we breathe, the thing we never even considered, that's what stopped them." Dr. Wu nodded. "It's like trying to drink from a cup made of fire. They weren't just unprepared, they were incapable of surviving here." Jonah shook his head, a mix of frustration and confusion etched in his features. "We always thought first contact would be about survival, negotiations, maybe conflict, and yet we have an advantage we didn't even know we had." He paused, and his eyes narrowed. But why didn't they know? It was a good question, one that hung heavy in the air. As the world reeled from the aftermath of the failed first contact, I couldn't help but reflect on what this meant for us. If the air we breathe is enough to kill a being that traversed the stars, what does that say about our place in the universe? We're fragile in so many ways, and yet, our very existence had just proven to be lethal. How many more would come? Would they, too, fall victim to the atmosphere? Or was this an accident of fate, a meeting between species who were simply never meant to coexist? But the deeper question gnawed at me. What if we had been the ones to leave our world first? Would we have found another planet where our lungs betrayed us, where every breath was our last. The universe is vast, indifferent, and today it had chosen to protect us. By nightfall, the alien ship still hovered above the Atlantic, its once glimmering surface now dark, lifeless. The human race was now watching through countless screens, their curiosity and fear mingling into something far more primal. "Have we tried communication again?" A voice echoed from behind me. It was Colonel Royce, another key figure in Earth's space defense program. Jonah nodded grimly. "We've sent multiple signals. No response." "We can't get inside the ship either," Royce continued. "Their technology is advanced enough that even our best equipment is useless. We're in the dark here, Commander." I stared at the hologram of the alien vessel suspended in midair. This thing, this massive creation, was still a mystery. We didn't know what powered it, how it moved, or what had brought them to our planet in the first place. But more than anything, we didn't know if there were more like them on the way. And if they were coming, would they suffer the same fate? "This could be our only chance," I said, breaking the silence. Jonah turned toward me, his eyebrows raised. "Chance for what?" "To learn," I said, feeling the weight of my own words. "If we can't communicate with them, we need to find out why they came. We need to understand who they are, or were, before the next ship arrives." Dr. Wu nodded in agreement. "There's so much we don't know. We have to study their biology. We have to figure out if there's a way to bridge this gap before it's too late." The decision was made quickly. A team of scientists and engineers was assembled to study the alien bodies before decomposition, or whatever process they underwent, made it impossible. I was part of the team, though I was neither scientist nor engineer. I was there because I needed to understand. If the air we breathed could kill, then what else about us was a threat? When we arrived at the research facility, the alien bodies lay in quarantine chambers, sealed off by layers of protective barriers. No one was taking any risks, despite the fact that the visitors were long dead. The atmosphere inside the lab was heavy with a sense of solemnity. We weren't just dissecting the remains of a different species. We were confronting the unknown, peering into the fabric of life beyond our planet. I watched as Dr. Wu prepared her instruments, her face focused and unreadable. The alien body before her looked strangely human, but the differences were unmistakable. Their skin shimmered faintly, almost translucent, as if it had never known the harshness of sun or wind. Their limbs were longer, more graceful, yet there was an eerie fragility to their form. "They evolved in an environment entirely different from ours," Dr. Wu murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "Every aspect of their biology suggests a world far gentler than ours. They weren't built for survival the way we are." "Built for survival," Jonah echoed from the other side of the room. "It makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much of our aggression, our strength, comes from the need to survive? Maybe they never had to fight for their place in the universe." I didn't respond, but the thought lingered. If these beings had come from a world without conflict, without struggle, what had driven them to explore the stars? What had brought them to Earth, a planet defined by survival, by competition? As Dr. Wu continued her examination, I found myself drawn deeper into the mystery of it all. The questions seemed endless. How many more were out there, like these visitors? Were they watching us now, learning from our world, even as we tried to understand theirs? And perhaps the most unsettling question of all, if they came again, would the air be enough to protect us? The research lab was unnaturally quiet now, save for the soft hum of the machines monitoring the alien bodies. Dr. Wu's meticulous study had only scratched the surface of what we were dealing with. But even in the early stages, the implications were staggering. These beings, these visitors, had come to Earth with knowledge we couldn't yet fathom. And yet, they fell to the very air we took for granted. I watched from a distance as Dr. Wu examined the ethereal body lying under the pale light. Its skin was translucent, almost glowing faintly like the shimmer of water under a full moon. It was hard not to feel a strange reverence standing in the presence of something so otherworldly, yet so fragile. For all their advanced technology, their ship hovering motionless in the sky, these beings had never anticipated our atmosphere would kill them. But that was only the beginning. The more I thought about it, the more it became clear that something larger was at play. A part of me felt certain that they hadn't come here by accident. Whether it was exploration or desperation, there had been intent behind their arrival, and that meant others might follow. If we didn't understand them, we wouldn't survive the next encounter. "Look at this," Dr. Wu said quietly, breaking my thoughts. Her hands hovered over the body, scanning its tissue with a focused gaze. I approached her slowly, my eyes tracing the outline of the alien's form. Its limbs were elongated, almost unnaturally slender, yet they possessed a quiet elegance, like they had never known the weight of gravity in the same way we had. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She pointed to a section of the body's ribcage, where a faint metallic hue shimmered beneath the surface. It was subtle, almost easy to miss, but once you noticed it, it was impossible to ignore. "Their biology isn't just organic," Dr. Wu said, her voice filled with a quiet awe. "It's something else. I've never seen anything like it. There's a metallic element to their cells, like they were engineered or augmented somehow. But it's so deeply integrated that it doesn't seem artificial." Jonah, who had been standing at the far end of the room, stepped closer, his face dark with thought. "Are you saying they were part machine?" "Not in the way we think of machines," Dr. Wu replied, shaking her head. "It's more like their bodies have adapted to include these elements over time, like evolution, but with a purpose. It's as if they've been shaped by something beyond natural selection, something deliberate." The word hung in the air between us, heavy with meaning. Deliberate. Evolution was supposed to be chaotic, unpredictable, driven by survival and chance. But this was something else entirely. These beings had been designed, or at least altered in ways we couldn't yet comprehend. It wasn't just that they were different from us. It was that they were something more than biological, something that transcended the limits of organic life. Jonah's expression hardened, his military instincts kicking in. "If they were engineered, that means someone, or something, built them. There could be more of them out there, waiting to finish what they started." I glanced at Dr. Wu, hoping for a rebuttal, but her face remained solemn. "It's possible," she said carefully. "We just don't know yet, but there's no denying that they came here for a reason, and whatever it was, they didn't expect the air to kill them. It's like they overlooked something so fundamental, like they had never encountered a planet like ours before." The room fell silent again, the weight of the unknown pressing down on us. It was a strange feeling, knowing that we had so many questions and so few answers. But what was even stranger was the realization that we might never fully understand these beings. For all our technology and knowledge, there were still forces in the universe that were beyond our reach. "Maybe the air wasn't just a defense," I said quietly, more to myself than anyone else. "Maybe it's a warning." Jonah's eyes flicked toward me, sharp and calculating. "A warning from who?" I didn't know how to answer. I wasn't even sure why I had said it, but the thought lingered in my mind, gnawing at the edges of my consciousness. The air had killed them, yes, but it hadn't killed us. It sustained us, allowed us to thrive. What if there was something deeper at play, something that went beyond biology and science? What if Earth itself was protecting us in ways we couldn't understand? Before I could explore the thought further, the lab's intercom crackled to life, pulling us back into the present. "Commander Eric, Dr. Wu, there's something you need to see," the voice said, strained with urgency. Jonah was already moving toward the door before the message finished, his military training making him swift and efficient. I followed close behind, my heart pounding with the sudden shift in atmosphere. Something had changed. The control room was filled with a quiet tension as we arrived. Screens lined the walls, displaying various angles of the alien ship still hovering above the Atlantic. But one screen, in particular, caught my attention, a close-up view of the ship's surface. "What is that?" I asked, stepping closer to the screen. At first glance, it looked like a simple crack in the ship's hull, a small fracture in the otherwise seamless exterior. But as the camera zoomed in, I realized it was far more than that. The crack was moving. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the surface of the ship was shifting, changing in ways that defied explanation. Dr. Wu's face paled as she stared at the screen. "It's alive," she whispered. The words sent a shiver down my spine. The ship wasn't just a vessel, it was a living entity, or at least something close to it, and it was reacting to the air, just like the aliens had. But instead of dying, it was adapting, changing. Jonah's jaw tightened. "We need to get closer. We need to know what's happening." Before anyone could respond, a sudden ripple ran through the ship, like a shock wave reverberating through its core. The screens flickered for a moment, then went dark. "Did we lose the feed?" someone called out from across the room. But the words had barely left his mouth when the entire room shook, a low rumble vibrating through the walls. It wasn't an explosion, not exactly, it was more like the ship was resonating, its presence filling the air around us with an unseen force. Jonah grabbed the edge of the control panel, steadying himself as the vibrations intensified. "What the hell is going on?" Dr. Wu's eyes were wide, her mind racing to keep up with the events unfolding before us. "It's responding to something? The atmosphere, maybe? Or the air. It's trying to adapt." For a brief moment, I thought about the fragility of life again, the delicate balance that allowed us to survive on this planet, while others couldn't. But this ship, it wasn't bound by the same rules. It was evolving in real time, shifting to meet the demands of a world that had already claimed its creators. "We need to evacuate," someone shouted from across the room, panic seeping into their voice. "If that thing breaks down, we're too close." But before anyone could react, the rumbling stopped. The screens flickered back to life, revealing the ship once more. Only this time, something was different. The crack in the hull had spread, forming intricate patterns along the surface of the ship. It looked like veins or roots spreading outward in every direction, and in the center of those patterns, a single, glowing light pulsed with a quiet intensity. "What is that?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Dr. Wu shook her head slowly, her eyes locked on the screen. "It's communicating." The next few hours were a blur of activity. Scientists scrambled to analyze the data, while military personnel prepared for the worst. But through it all, that glowing light remained steady, constant, like a heartbeat. Whatever was happening, the ship was alive in ways we couldn't fully comprehend. And then, as suddenly as it had started, everything stopped. The ship went dark. The glowing light faded. The intricate patterns along its surface receded, leaving only the lifeless hull behind. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. We were left in the silence of the unknown, unsure whether the ship had finally died or was simply waiting for something else. Jonah was the first to break the stillness. "We need to figure out what just happened. Now." But even as he spoke, I knew that whatever answers we found wouldn't be enough. There was something out there, something beyond the ship, beyond the air, beyond everything we thought we understood about life. And it was only a matter of time before it found us. As the days passed, we learned more about the ship, but each discovery only led to more questions. Its structure, its biology, its purpose, none of it fit into any framework we had for understanding the universe. It was as if the ship itself existed on the edge of reality, defying the very laws of nature we had taken for granted. And through it all, one question haunted me, growing louder with each passing day. Was the air really our shield, or was it something far more dangerous? I stood in the corridor outside the control room, my mind buzzing with the weight of everything that had transpired. The silence around me felt oppressive, the kind of silence that carried unspoken truths. Jonah had disappeared into a briefing with the higher-ups, leaving me alone with my thoughts, and the lingering questions none of us were brave enough to voice. The ship, now lifeless above the ocean, had revealed more than we could handle. Dr. Wu's discovery, the fact that the ship wasn't merely a vessel, but something alive, something sentient, kept turning over in my mind. I couldn't stop thinking about that glowing pulse, the way it had responded to our atmosphere. It had adapted. But what if that was only the first step? I wasn't naive. I knew enough to recognize when a situation was spiraling beyond human control. And this was beyond us in ways we couldn't yet comprehend. But what disturbed me most wasn't the ship or the aliens. It was the air. The very thing that had protected us, killed them, and altered their ship. What if the air wasn't just a passive element? What if Earth itself was reacting? I shook the thought away as Dr. Wu approached me, her face lined with exhaustion. "You look like you've been through hell," she said, her voice hoarse. I gave her a tired smile. "I think we all have." She leaned against the wall beside me, rubbing her temples. "I've been running tests all night. Every scan we've done on that ship, on their bodies. None of it adds up. We've never seen anything like this before." I nodded, though it didn't surprise me. "Any updates on the ship? Has it shown any more signs of activity?" Dr. Wu shook her head. "No, it's completely inert now, but that's what worries me." "What do you mean?" She hesitated, then spoke softly, as if afraid to put her thoughts into words. "When something dies, it decays. It breaks down, loses energy. But that ship, it's not decaying. It's in perfect stasis, like it's waiting for something." A chill ran down my spine. "Waiting for what?" She met my eyes, her expression grim. "That's what I don't know." For a long moment, we stood there in silence. The weight of her words settled heavily between us. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were missing something vital, some crucial piece of information that would make everything click into place. But what was it? The door to the control room slid open, and Jonah emerged, his face dark with frustration. He glanced at us briefly before speaking. "We've got orders. The higher-ups want to retrieve more samples from the ship." Dr. Wu raised an eyebrow. "You're kidding, right? The thing's still active, even if it's not showing it. You saw what happened." Jonah's jaw clenched. "I know, but they don't care. They want answers, and they want them fast. We're going back in." My gut twisted at the thought of returning to that ship. But I knew Jonah was right. We didn't have the luxury of caution anymore. If we didn't figure out what that ship was and why it had come here, we'd be unprepared for whatever came next. "I'll prep the team," Jonah said, his voice steady despite the tension in the air. He turned to leave, but paused briefly, his eyes meeting mine. "You're coming with us." It wasn't a question. I nodded, though I wasn't sure I was ready to face what lay ahead. The air inside the alien ship was still and heavy, thick with a lingering presence of something I couldn't name. As we made our way deeper into the vessel, the strange, intricate patterns on its walls seemed to shift and pulse under the dim lights of our headlamps. There was an eerie beauty to it, a kind of organic elegance that felt at odds with the cold, mechanical nature of the ship's design. Dr. Wu was scanning the walls, her equipment buzzing quietly as she took readings. Jonah moved ahead, his rifle gripped tightly in his hands. The rest of the team followed in tense silence, their eyes flicking nervously between the ship's walls and the darkened corridors ahead. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched, though there was no sign of life anywhere. Every step we took seemed to echo endlessly, as if the ship itself was listening, waiting. "This place feels different," Jonah muttered under his breath, his voice barely audible through the comms. I nodded, though I wasn't sure why. The ship was quiet, dead even, but there was a tension in the air that hadn't been there before. It was subtle, like the faintest whisper of something just out of reach. I could feel it in my bones, a quiet dread that gnawed at the edges of my mind. "What's the plan?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "We're heading to the core," Jonah replied. "Dr. Wu thinks that's where we'll find the source of whatever the hell is going on with this thing." Dr. Wu didn't respond, her focus entirely on the scanner in her hand. I could see the strain on her face, the way her eyes darted between the data and the ship around us. She was searching for something she hadn't yet found. As we moved deeper into the ship, the air grew colder. The walls seemed to pulse with a faint light, the patterns shifting and twisting like veins under the skin of some enormous creature. The ship wasn't just alive, it was evolving, changing in ways we couldn't see. I didn't realize we had stopped until Jonah held up a hand, motioning for us to stay quiet. Ahead of us, the corridor opened into a vast chamber, its walls lined with strange, translucent pods. The air was thick with a strange, metallic scent, and the faint hum of machinery reverberated through the floor. "What is this place?" I whispered, stepping closer to one of the pods. Dr. Wu scanned the pod's surface, her brow furrowed in concentration. "It looks like some kind of stasis chamber, but the readings, they're off the charts." I peered into the pod, my breath catching in my throat. Inside, suspended in a thick, gelatinous fluid, was one of the aliens. Its body was motionless, its translucent skin shimmering faintly under the light of our headlamps. For a moment, I thought it was dead, but then I saw it. The faintest flicker of movement, a twitch of its elongated fingers. "It's alive," I said, my voice barely a whisper. Jonah cursed under his breath, stepping back from the pod. "We need to get out of here. Now." But before any of us could move, the air around us shifted. It was subtle at first, a faint tremor that ran through the floor beneath our feet. Then the lights flickered, the walls around us pulsing with a sudden, violent energy. "Something's happening," Dr. Wu said, her voice rising in alarm. The ship seemed to come alive around us, the walls vibrating with an unseen force. The hum of machinery grew louder, more intense, as if the ship was waking up from a long slumber. I could feel it in my bones, the way the air seemed to vibrate with an electric charge. The ship was reacting to us, responding to our presence. Jonah grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the pod. "We need to move. Now." But before we could take another step, the chamber filled with a blinding light. I stumbled backward, shielding my eyes from the sudden brilliance. The air around us crackled with energy, the walls vibrating with a low, thrumming sound. When the light finally dimmed, I blinked rapidly, trying to clear my vision. But what I saw left me frozen in place. The alien inside the pod, it was awake. Its eyes, large and dark, were fixed on us, unblinking. Its body was still suspended in the thick fluid, but there was no mistaking the awareness in its gaze. It was alive, and it was watching us. Dr. Wu's breath hitched, her voice trembling. "We need to go. Now." Jonah didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed Dr. Wu by the arm, pulling her toward the exit. The rest of the team followed suit, their faces pale with fear. But I couldn't move. I was rooted to the spot, my eyes locked on the alien's gaze. There was something in those eyes, something ancient, something far beyond my understanding. It wasn't fear, or anger, or even curiosity. It was something deeper, something that seemed to reach into the very core of my being. And then, in a voice so quiet I could barely hear it, the alien spoke. "Why?" The word echoed in my mind, a single, whispered question that carried the weight of the universe. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't even know if I could. But before I could even try, the ship shuddered violently, the walls around us cracking with the force of an unseen energy. "Eric, move!" Jonah shouted, his voice breaking through my paralysis. I stumbled backward, my heart racing, as the ship began to shake around us. The walls pulsed with a violent energy, the air thick with the hum of machinery. The ship was alive, truly alive, and it was waking up. We ran. The corridors blurred around me as we sprinted toward the exit, the ground shaking beneath our feet. I could hear the ship behind us, its walls vibrating with an unseen force, the hum of its machinery growing louder with each passing second. But even as we fled, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The alien's question echoed in my mind, a single word that carried more meaning than I could comprehend. Why? Back on the surface, the world felt both distant and immediate, as if reality had shifted, and nothing could ever quite be the same. Dr. Wu sat beside me, silent, her eyes focused on the horizon. Jonah paced nearby, his movements jerky, restless. None of us spoke. We didn't need to. The weight of what had just happened settled over us like a suffocating blanket. I kept thinking about the alien's eyes. That look of ancient understanding, that whispered question. What did it mean? And why had it spoken to me? "Eric," Jonah said quietly, breaking the silence. He stopped pacing and looked at me, his expression unreadable. "We need answers." I nodded, though I wasn't sure where to begin. The ship, the aliens, the air, everything was connected, but the pieces didn't fit together in any way that made sense. "We'll find them," I said, though I wasn't sure if I believed it. But one thing was clear: whatever was happening, whatever we had unleashed, it was bigger than any of us. The silence that followed our escape from the ship felt unnatural. I couldn't shake the image of the alien's eyes, the calmness, the weight of its gaze, as if it had been waiting for something far longer than we had been alive. That single word it uttered clung to me like a splinter in my mind. Why? It echoed in my thoughts, a question that I couldn't answer. It didn't feel like it had been asking about our intrusion or even our existence. No, this was something deeper, something connected to the ship, to the way it had reacted to us, to the air. Back at the base, we sat in the debriefing room. The team was scattered around the long metal table, some slumped in their chairs, others standing stiffly, arms crossed. Dr. Wu stared at her hands, the lines in her face more pronounced, her energy spent. Jonah leaned against the wall, his fingers tapping absently against the holster of his sidearm. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw clenched each time someone glanced his way. No one wanted to speak first. There was too much to process. "I think we need to talk about it," I finally said, breaking the silence. Dr. Wu didn't look up. "What is there to talk about?" Her voice was flat, exhausted. "We went in, we found the stasis pods, and now we're left with more questions than answers." "It's more than that," I replied, keeping my tone steady. "The ship reacted to us, and the alien, it woke up. We all saw it." "I saw it," Jonas said, pushing off from the wall. "And it saw us. I don't think it's as simple as the ship reacting. That thing knew we were there." "It spoke," I added quietly. "It asked, why?" Dr. Wu finally raised her head. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw the fear behind her usual calm demeanor. "Why?" she echoed. "Why what?" "I don't know," I admitted, running a hand through my hair. But it didn't feel like a question about us. It felt like it was asking about something much bigger. Jonah crossed his arms, his face hardening. "We need to report this. The higher-ups need to know everything." Dr. Wu shook her head. "Report what?" "That we're dealing with something beyond our understanding. They'll send more teams, more scientists, more soldiers. They'll try to contain it, control it, and they'll fail. This is beyond them, beyond us." I could see the truth in her words. This wasn't something that could be dissected or solved with more manpower. It was like standing at the edge of a vast chasm, staring into the unknown. We didn't even know what we were looking at, let alone how to explain it to people who saw the world in black and white. "I'm not saying we keep this quiet," I said, trying to find a middle ground. "But we need to think carefully about how we approach this. We don't even understand what we're dealing with yet." Jonas' eyes narrowed. "So what do you propose, Eric? That we sit on our hands while that thing wakes up and decides to wipe us out?" "I'm saying we take a step back," I replied, my voice firm but calm. "We need more information. We can't rush into this blind." Dr. Wu stood up, her movements slow and deliberate. "Eric's right. We can't just go charging back in there. We need to understand what that ship is, what it's doing here." Jonas' fist clenched at his sides, but he didn't argue. The tension in the room was thick, but beneath it was a shared understanding. We were in uncharted territory, and there was no clear path forward. Dr. Wu cleared her throat, pulling out a tablet from her bag. "I've been running simulations, analyzing the data we collected from the ship. There's something off about the atmospheric readings inside the vessel." I frowned, leaning forward. "Off how?" She tapped a few commands, and a holographic display flickered to life above the table. "The air inside the ship isn't just different, it's evolving, adapting. It's reacting to our atmosphere in ways I've never seen before. It's almost as if the ship is alive in more than just the biological sense." Jonas' face hardened. "You're saying the ship is a living organism?" "Not quite," Dr. Wu replied, her eyes flicking between the data and our faces. But it's not just a machine either. It's somewhere in between, something beyond our understanding of technology and biology. My mind raced as I processed her words. This wasn't just an alien ship. It was a living, breathing entity, reacting to the environment around it, adapting to our world. And the air, the very thing that had killed the aliens on contact, was now a part of that equation. I could feel the pieces starting to come together in my mind, though the picture was still incomplete. The ship had come here for a reason, and now that it had encountered our atmosphere, it was changing, just as we were beginning to understand the ways it was changing us. "We need to go back in," I said, my voice steady. Jonah shot me a look of disbelief. "Go back in? Are you out of your mind? We barely made it out alive the first time." "I know," I replied, "but we're not going to get answers standing around here, guessing at what's going on. We need to understand what the ship is doing, what it's trying to become." Dr. Wu nodded, her expression resolute. "He's right. If we don't figure this out now, we could be dealing with something far worse later on." Jonah sighed, running a hand over his face. "I hate to say it, but you're both right. We can't just leave this hanging." For a moment, none of us spoke. The enormity of the situation pressed down on us like a physical weight. There was no going back, no retreating from what we had started. The ship had come to Earth for a reason, and it wasn't done with us yet. The next day, we prepared for our return to the ship. The base was a flurry of activity, with teams gearing up and equipment being checked. Dr. Wu and I worked together, double-checking the data and making sure we had everything we needed to record any new findings. Jonah was busy coordinating with the security teams, ensuring we had enough firepower in case things went south. But no amount of preparation could shake the unease that had settled in my chest. As I suited up, I couldn't stop thinking about the alien's question. Why? It felt like a key, something that could unlock the mystery of the ship, if only I could figure out what it meant. As we boarded the transport shuttle, the tension in the air was palpable. Everyone was on edge, their nerves frayed from the last mission. But there was also a quiet determination, a sense that we were heading towards something inevitable. The shuttle touched down near the coastline, the alien ship looming in the distance like a monolith. The once shimmering surface of the vessel was now dull and dark, the glow we had seen before completely gone. It was as if the ship had fallen into a deep slumber, waiting for something to wake it. "Stay sharp," Jonah muttered as we approached the entrance. "We don't know what we're walking into this time." The security team fanned out, their weapons at the ready, while Dr. Wu and I prepared our scanning equipment. The air inside the ship was cold, the walls humming with a faint, barely audible energy. It was different from before, quieter, but not in a way that felt comforting. It was the kind of quiet that made the hair on the back of your neck stand up. As we moved deeper into the vessel, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. It wasn't a physical presence, it was more like the ship itself was aware of us, monitoring our movements, waiting for us to make a mistake. Dr. Wu scanned the walls as we walked, her expression focused. "The energy levels are still fluctuating, but it's not as intense as it was before." "That's good, right?" one of the security team members asked. "Maybe," she replied, not taking her eyes off the scanner. "Or it could mean the ship is conserving energy for something bigger." We reached the central chamber, the same place we had seen the stasis pods before. The air here was different, heavier, and the faint metallic scent from before was now stronger, more pungent. The pods were still there, the figures inside motionless. But something was wrong. One of the pods was empty. Jonah cursed under his breath, his hand tightening around his rifle. "We need to get out of here." Before anyone could respond, the ship shuddered, the walls vibrating with a low, rumbling sound. The lights flickered, and the air around us seemed to thicken. Then, in the center of the chamber, a figure appeared. It was the alien, the same one I had seen before. But it was no longer confined to its pod. It stood before us, tall and graceful, its eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin crawl. For a moment, none of us moved. The air was thick with tension, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. The alien's eyes never left mine, and I felt that same weight, that same question, hanging between us. Why? It spoke, the sound resonating in my mind rather than through the air. You have returned. I couldn't speak. The words caught in my throat as I struggled to comprehend the enormity of the moment. This was a being that had seen the cosmos, had traveled across the stars, and yet here it was, standing before us. Why? I finally managed to say, the question bursting forth unbidden. Why? It echoed, tilting its head. You ask of me, but I ask you, why do you return? The question hit me hard, the weight of its meaning crashing down on me. We want to understand, I said, forcing the words out. We want to know why you are here. The alien seemed to consider my words, its gaze shifting to the others in the room. Understanding is a fragile thing. It shifts and changes with each breath, each thought. You seek knowledge, yet knowledge can be a weapon. It can destroy as easily as it can create. Dr. Wu stepped forward, her voice steady. We're not here to harm you. We want to learn, to comprehend your purpose. The alien's gaze shifted back to me, and I felt its presence wash over me, a wave of understanding that transcended language. Then ask your questions, but understand this, knowledge demands sacrifice. The words hung in the air, a warning laced with gravity. I felt the weight of its statement sink in, the realization that our pursuit of knowledge could lead us down a path we were unprepared for. What do you mean by sacrifice? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The alien took a step closer, its form shimmering with an ethereal light. To know is to relinquish the comforts of ignorance. You must be willing to confront the truth of your existence, the fabric of your reality. The tension in the room thickened, the air heavy with unspoken fears. I glanced at Jonah, who looked as lost as I felt. The implications of its words weighed heavily on us, the understanding that our quest for knowledge was intertwined with the essence of who we were. Are you willing? The alien continued, its voice a low hum that resonated deep within me. Are you prepared to face the unknown? I took a deep breath, my heart racing as I met its gaze. I want to understand. We all do. The alien regarded me for a long moment, and then it nodded, a slow, deliberate motion. Then come, and let us walk the path of knowledge together. As it turned, I felt a surge of anticipation. We were stepping into something vast and unfathomable, a journey that would redefine everything we knew. I glanced back at the others, who were watching with a mixture of fear and wonder, and I knew we were at the threshold of something monumental. With a nod from Jonah, we followed the alien deeper into the ship. Each step felt charged with potential, the atmosphere alive with the promise of discovery. As we moved through the dimly lit corridors, the walls seemed to pulse with energy, responding to our presence. The alien led us to a large chamber, unlike any we had seen before. The walls were adorned with intricate symbols, glowing softly in the dark. It felt like we had stepped into a place that held the weight of centuries, a sanctuary of knowledge and power. Here lies the essence of my people, the alien said, gesturing to the walls. These are the stories of our existence, the truths we have uncovered, the lessons we have learned. I stepped closer, studying the symbols, the way they intertwined and flowed across the surface. There was a rhythm to them, a language that seemed to speak not just to the mind, but to the soul. What do they mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. They tell of our journey through the stars, the alien replied. Of our triumphs and failures, our pursuit of understanding. They are the essence of who we are. A wave of awe washed over me as I absorbed its words. This was not just a story, it was a testament to a civilization that had grappled with existence, that had faced the unknown and emerged with a deeper understanding of the cosmos. Can we learn from this? Dr. Wu asked, her eyes wide with wonder. Yes, the alien said. But knowledge comes with a price. Are you willing to pay it? I looked around the room, at the faces of my team. The choice hung in the air, a decision that would shape our future. The allure of understanding was powerful, but it was entwined with a reality that demanded more than we might be willing to give. I thought of the question that had lingered since the moment we encountered the alien. Why? What had drawn us together? What would we uncover about ourselves in this pursuit of knowledge? "I am willing," I said, my voice steady. "We are all willing." The alien nodded, a glimmer of approval in its eyes. "Then let the journey begin." As it stepped forward, the symbols on the walls began to shift, rearranging themselves into new patterns. Light danced around us, the room in a kaleidoscope of colors. It was a symphony of understanding, a convergence of thought and experience that reached out to us, inviting us to engage. The sensation was overwhelming. I felt as if I were being pulled into the very fabric of the universe, unraveling the mysteries that lay hidden just beneath the surface. The air buzzed with energy, and I could sense the presence of countless minds that had come before me, each seeking the same answers, the same truths. In that moment, I realized this was not just about knowledge, it was about connection. Each piece of information we uncovered would weave itself into the tapestry of our existence, reshaping how we viewed the universe and our place within it. And as we stood there, on the precipice of discovery, I felt an inkling of what the alien had meant. Knowledge demanded sacrifice, but it also promised a deeper understanding of life itself. The journey had just begun. The silence that enveloped us felt heavy, suffocating. I could hardly breathe, and the question hanging in the air wasn't just a whisper, it was a demand, a challenge. Why? It lingered, curling around my thoughts like smoke, obscuring clarity. The alien before us seemed to embody that question, its posture poised yet relaxed, as if it had emerged from centuries of stasis, filled with a patience we could hardly comprehend. The weight of its gaze suggested a depth of experience and knowledge far beyond our own. Jonah's voice broke through the thick tension. "What do you want?" His tone was a mixture of defiance and fear, the quaver in his voice betraying his bravado. The alien didn't flinch. It stood there, unmoving, as if considering the nature of his inquiry. Dr. Wu stepped forward, her features taut with concentration. "Maybe it's not about what it wants from us," she suggested quietly, her voice steady. "Maybe it's more about what we're meant to learn from it." The alien finally spoke again, but the sound that emerged was not a simple word. It was an amalgamation of tones and frequencies that resonated within my bones. I felt the vibration as much as I heard it, a language that transcended mere syllables. "Why?" it repeated, this time with a deeper inflection that sent a shiver through me. I found myself captivated, the nuances of its question seeping into my consciousness. What did it truly want to convey? It felt like the ship, this living entity, was suddenly alive in a new way. The air around us pulsed with energy, shifting as if the atmosphere itself was in conversation with the alien. Dr. Wu's device beeped softly, the readings fluctuating wildly, indicating some kind of connection being established between us and the ship. "It's responding to us," she observed, her voice a mix of awe and trepidation. "The atmosphere here, it's different, almost as if it's adapting to the presence of sentient beings." The implications of her words struck me with a force that was hard to ignore. What did it mean for a ship to change based on those who entered it? What kind of relationship could exist between the organic and the mechanical when both were, in essence, alive in their own right? Jonah gripped his rifle tighter, his posture tense. "It's dangerous," he insisted. "We don't know what it can do. We need to keep our distance." But I felt drawn to the alien. The gravity of its gaze pulled me closer, a silent invitation to understand. "Wait," I urged, raising a hand. "Maybe it's trying to communicate." The air thickened as I took a step forward. The moment I moved, the alien shifted as well, its gaze never wavering. An instinct whispered to me that it could sense my intention, my curiosity. I could feel my heart racing, but I pressed on, unable to resist. "What do you want from us?" I asked, my voice steady despite the chaos of emotions swirling inside me. "Why?" the alien repeated, its tone shifting again, carrying an inflection that felt like an echo from deep within its being. "What do you mean?" I pressed, desperate to pierce the veil of uncertainty that surrounded us. "Why, you here?" The alien's articulation was slow, measured, as if every word was a careful choice. The weight of the question settled in my gut. Why were we here? The thought echoed back to us, a reflection of our own purpose as explorers. Had we stumbled upon something we were never meant to find? We were searching, I replied, trying to convey the truth of our expedition. We came to learn, to discover. Discover, the alien tilted its head slightly, as if contemplating the meaning of the word. The ship's air shifted again, a ripple passing through the room, almost like a sigh. Are you, I hesitated, not wanting to misinterpret its intent. Are you here to teach us? The alien paused, its eyes narrowing slightly. Teach? Why? The question struck a chord within me. Why would it seek to teach? What could it possibly share with beings so different from itself? I found myself grappling with the enormity of that potential exchange. The realization that this alien was more than just a sentinel of its own world. It could be a bridge between civilizations. Because knowledge is power, I ventured. Understanding can help prevent suffering. War. War, it echoed, the tone imbued with a profound weight. Suffering. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted again, heavier, as if the ship itself were absorbing our conversation. I could sense the complexity of emotions swirling within the alien, an ancient history intertwined with our own struggles. Jonah took a cautious step back, casting a wary glance at the security team. This is too risky. We can't trust it. It could be manipulating us. But what if it's not? I countered, my voice rising slightly. What if it genuinely seeks to understand us, just as we seek to understand it? Dr. Wu was silent, her gaze flickering between Jonah and me. I could see the gears turning in her mind, wrestling with the balance of caution and curiosity that defined our predicament. In that moment, the alien began to move, slowly extending a hand. My breath caught in my throat. It was an invitation, no, a bridge, between worlds. I instinctively took a step closer, driven by an urge to connect. But Jonah shouted, "Get back!" The sound pierced the air, but it was too late. The alien's fingers brushed against the surface of the nearest stasis pod, and the energy in the room surged. The lights flickered violently, and a wave of force swept through us, knocking everyone off balance. The alien's eyes flared, glowing with a brilliance that felt both terrifying and magnificent. It wasn't anger. It was as if the being was channeling all its energy, drawing from the very ship that housed it. "Stop!" Dr. Wu shouted, scrambling to regain her footing. "It's trying to." But the words were lost in the cacophony that enveloped us. The walls of the ship reverberated with an almost primal roar, and I could feel the very fabric of reality shifting around us. In the chaos, I focused on the alien, trying to convey a sense of calm and understanding. "Wait, we're here to learn." For a fleeting moment, I thought I saw comprehension in its gaze, a flicker of recognition that we were all part of something larger than ourselves. Then, just as quickly, the energy coalesced, and the room was plunged into darkness. When the lights returned, everything had changed. We found ourselves in a different part of the ship, an expansive chamber that seemed to stretch infinitely. The walls shimmered with an ethereal light, and strange glyphs danced across the surface. It felt as though the very air had transformed, heavy with purpose and anticipation. Jonah was on his feet first, his instincts kicking in. "We need to regroup," he urged, scanning the area for threats. Dr. Wu, still trying to process what had happened, looked around in disbelief. "Where are we?" "I don't know," I admitted, feeling a mixture of awe and dread. "But I think it's a part of the ship we've never seen before." The glyphs pulsed gently, a rhythm that seemed to resonate with our own heartbeats. There was a sense of calm here, a stark contrast to the tension of the previous chamber. I felt drawn to the walls, the patterns calling to something deep within me. "Look," Dr. Wu said, pointing to one of the glyphs. "It's almost like a language, a form of communication." My heart raced as I stepped closer, studying the symbols. They seemed to shift and change before my eyes, an intricate dance of light and meaning. What if it's trying to convey something important? Jonah joined me, his skepticism giving way to curiosity. "Important how?" Maybe it's history, I suggested, my thoughts racing. A record of what happened to them, why they came here. The air hummed with a new energy, as if the ship itself was responding to our presence. I reached out to touch the glyphs, feeling a surge of connection, a bridge between our worlds. In that instant, the glyphs flared brighter, and images began to manifest in the air, visions of the aliens past. I saw a world bathed in light, a vibrant civilization teeming with life. Structures rose like organic sculptures, intertwining with a natural landscape. Creatures moved gracefully, their forms unique and beautiful. There was a harmony here, a balance that resonated deep within me. But then the images shifted. Darkness fell over the landscape, a shadow creeping across the vibrant colors. The harmony shattered as chaos erupted, creatures fighting, worlds colliding. I could feel the pain, the desperation in each image, the longing for understanding amid conflict. "Is this what it fears?" I whispered, the enormity of what I was witnessing crashing down on me. "Maybe," Dr. Wu replied softly, her eyes wide as she absorbed the narrative unfolding before us. "It's trying to warn us, to show us the consequences of our actions." Jonah was silent, his skepticism giving way to the weight of what we were experiencing. "So, what? We're supposed to change? Prevent something?" The images intensified, showing the alien civilization's desperate attempts to seek understanding, their attempts to reach out across the stars. But time and again, they were met with violence, misunderstanding, and ultimately, loss. "Maybe that's why it's asking us why we're here," I mused, feeling the urgency of the moment. "It wants to know if we're capable of learning from history, if we can change the course." The visions began to fade, the light dimming as if the ship were drawing back, retreating into its own memory. As the final image disappeared, I turned to Jonah and Dr. Wu. "We can't ignore this. If we want to survive, we need to understand. We need to learn." Jonah nodded slowly, the fight leaving him as the weight of the responsibility settled over us. "So what's our next move?" "We find a way to communicate," I replied, determination igniting within me. "We show it that we're here to learn, not to conquer. We build a bridge." The ship hummed around us, a resonance that felt like an agreement. Together, we stood at the threshold of a profound connection between ourselves, the alien, and the universe we had yet to fully comprehend. As we prepared to take that step forward, I couldn't shake the feeling that our journey was only just beginning. The darkness was real, but so was the light. As we turned to explore this new realm, the ship around us began to shift. The air thickened with anticipation, and I couldn't help but feel that every decision we made would ripple out into the cosmos. It was a path fraught with uncertainty, yet it held the promise of understanding and the possibility of forging a bond that transcended the barriers of our worlds. And for the first time since we embarked on this journey, I felt that we were truly not alone. The alien's question echoed in my mind as we stepped deeper into the ship's heart. Why? And with each step, I realized that the answer we sought was already beginning to unfold. The room pulsed with an energy that seemed almost alive, a subtle but powerful force that wrapped around us like a thick fog. I stepped cautiously forward, scanning the chamber for signs of danger or clarity, but all I found were the glyphs glowing softly on the walls. Each symbol shifted slightly, as if they were in a state of constant flux, a language waiting to be deciphered. The air felt electric, and a low hum reverberated through the space, resonating deep within my chest. Jonah stood close behind me, his eyes narrowed as he surveyed the unfamiliar environment. The tension radiating from him was palpable. I could sense the struggle between curiosity and caution. He was always on alert, ready to protect the team, but in this moment, he appeared caught between fear of the unknown and the wonder of discovery. Dr. Wu moved to my side, her expression one of focused determination. The scholar in her seemed awakened, driven to comprehend the meaning of the glyphs. She reached out tentatively, her fingers hovering just above the nearest symbol, almost reverent. "There's a pattern," she murmured, her voice steady but filled with awe. "It's a form of communication, but it feels so different." I stepped closer, leaning in to catch a better view. The symbols seemed to dance before my eyes, an intricate ballet of light and shadow. They pulsed with an almost rhythmic quality, syncing with the low hum that filled the air. "What do you think it's trying to tell us?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. Dr. Wu frowned slightly, her brow furrowing in concentration. "It could be a history, or perhaps a warning," she speculated. "These glyphs might represent significant events in the alien civilization, moments they feel compelled to communicate." The gravity of her words settled heavily in the space between us. I could not shake the feeling that we were intruders in a narrative far larger than ourselves, witnesses to a story that had unfolded over eons. The realization was unsettling yet exhilarating. Here we stood, on the brink of uncovering knowledge that could reshape our understanding of the universe. Jonah shifted restlessly, breaking the tension with a sharp exhale. "We need to remain cautious," he reminded us, his voice laced with a protective urgency. "We don't know what we're dealing with. This ship, it could be dangerous." His words hung in the air, reminding us that while the allure of discovery was strong, so was the reality of our situation. The ship was not merely a vessel, it was a living entity with its own intentions, and we were merely guests within its confines. I could feel Jonah's tension radiating from him, his instincts honed from countless encounters with the unknown. Yet I sensed something else beneath his protective exterior, a flicker of excitement at the possibilities before us. "Let's focus on what we can learn," I suggested, my voice steady as I returned my attention to the glyphs. "If this ship is trying to communicate with us, we need to understand what it wants. Maybe it's not just a warning, maybe it's also an invitation." Jonah's skepticism was evident, but Dr. Wu nodded slowly, her analytical mind weighing the potential of our situation. "If it is an invitation, we should respond appropriately," she agreed. "Communication is a two-way street." With that, we stepped deeper into the chamber, feeling the air shift around us as if the ship itself were guiding our path. The walls pulsed with light, the glyphs the space in a soft glow that felt both comforting and ominous. The low hum grew louder, resonating with an energy that seemed to vibrate through our very beings. As we moved further in, I noticed an alcove to the left, a smaller section of the chamber bathed in a warm, golden light. It beckoned to us, an oasis amidst the swirling patterns of glyphs. "Over there," I pointed, my curiosity drawing me closer. "Let's see what it is." We approached cautiously, the air thick with anticipation. As we reached the alcove, the warm light revealed a series of intricate carvings on the wall, each telling a story in a language that felt familiar yet foreign. The carvings depicted scenes of life, a flourishing civilization engaged in art, science, and connection. "Look at this," Dr. Wu exclaimed, tracing her fingers over a carving of beings that bore a resemblance to the alien we encountered earlier. Their features were elegant, their forms fluid and harmonious. They were engaged in what appeared to be a celebration, surrounded by flora and fauna that pulsed with vibrant life. The energy in the alcove shifted, growing more intense as if responding to our presence. The carvings seemed to come alive, filling my mind with visions of unity and joy. I felt an overwhelming sense of connection, an understanding that transcended words. The beings in the carvings were not merely entities. They were a community, intertwined with their environment in ways I could scarcely fathom. Dr. Wu's voice broke through the reverie. "These scenes illustrate their culture," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "It's a narrative of their existence, a record of their accomplishments and their connection to this place." Jonah remained on edge, his posture still tense. "What if this is just a facade?" he countered, his voice low. "What if they were hiding something darker beneath this idealized representation?" I considered his words, the underlying truth in his skepticism. "That's possible," I admitted. "But what if it's a genuine reflection of who they were? This could be a part of their history they want us to understand." Dr. Wu nodded, her fingers still tracing the carvings. "If we can comprehend their values, their connections, we might be able to establish communication. Maybe that's what they're seeking." In that moment, I felt a surge of determination. The path before us was uncertain, but the potential for understanding was undeniable. The beings who inhabited this ship had a story to tell, and we were being given a chance to listen. "Let's document everything," I suggested, pulling out my portable device. "We need to record these images, the glyphs, everything we've seen so far. It might help us piece together the puzzle." As I began to capture the intricate carvings, I sensed Jonah's tension gradually ease, the urge to protect giving way to curiosity. He stepped closer, examining the carvings with a renewed interest. "If we can show this to the others, it might help them understand the significance of what we're facing," he conceded. Dr. Wu nodded, her excitement palpable. "Yes, we must share this knowledge. It could change everything." The alcove felt alive around us, the air vibrating with a subtle energy as we worked. I focused intently on each carving, the stories woven into the stone filling my mind with a deeper understanding of this alien civilization. The warmth of the golden light enveloped us, comforting and inviting, as if we were being embraced by the very essence of the ship. With each symbol and scene I captured, a sense of purpose ignited within me. This was not just an exploration. It was a chance to forge a connection with a species that had faced struggles akin to our own. After documenting several carvings, I turned back to Jonah and Dr. Wu, who were absorbed in their own observations. "What do you think happened to them?" I asked, the gravity of the question heavy in the air. Jonah paused, his brow furrowing. "The conflict we saw in the previous vision, perhaps it tore them apart. If they reached out, seeking connection, maybe they were met with misunderstanding and violence." "That's a possibility," Dr. Wu interjected, her voice tinged with sadness. "It's a reminder of the consequences of miscommunication. If they had hoped for understanding and were met with hostility, it could explain why they became reclusive." The weight of those words lingered, echoing in the chamber. The ship was not just a remnant of their past, it was a reflection of their desire for connection and understanding. As we stood in that alcove, absorbing the gravity of what lay before us, I felt a new resolve solidifying within me. We had a chance to change the narrative, to rewrite the ending of a story that had been marred by conflict and misunderstanding. "Let's keep moving," I finally said, my voice steady. "There's more to uncover. We need to see if we can find a way to communicate with it." With renewed purpose, we stepped back into the main chamber. The glyphs continued to pulse with light, their meanings waiting to be deciphered. The air hummed around us, the energy palpable as we navigated deeper into the heart of the ship. As we journeyed forward, I felt a sense of anticipation growing within me, the possibility of connection sparking a fire that pushed us onward. This was no longer just a mission of exploration. It was a quest for understanding, a chance to forge a bond that could transcend the barriers of our worlds. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but together we moved forward, determined to uncover the truth of the alien civilization, and perhaps, in doing so, unlock the potential for a brighter future. As we ventured further into the depths of the ship, I could sense the weight of history surrounding us. Each step felt like a connection to the past, a testament to the struggles and triumphs of a species that had reached out across the stars in search of understanding. We continued our exploration, each alcove revealing more of the narrative woven into the fabric of the ship. Carvings depicted families celebrating scientific breakthroughs and profound connections with nature. The story was rich and textured, a vivid tapestry of life and achievement. But there were also darker moments, the shadow of conflict that loomed over their history. Carvings depicting chaos and despair spoke of a civilization that had faced internal strife and external threats. The contrast was striking, beauty intertwined with sorrow, hope woven with despair. Why do they show both sides? I wondered aloud, the weight of the question pressing on my mind. Is it a warning? A lesson? Perhaps it's both, Dr. Wu replied thoughtfully. They understand the duality of existence, the balance between light and dark. They want us to see the whole picture, to learn from their mistakes. Jonah glanced at her, his brow furrowed. But can we learn? Can we really change the narrative? I could feel the weight of his skepticism, the burden of doubt that threatened to overshadow our mission. We have to believe we can, I replied firmly. If we don't try, then we're already lost. As we continued deeper into the ship, I felt the energy shift again, the air thickening with anticipation. We entered another large chamber, the walls adorned with more glyphs and carvings. The center of the room held a large, circular platform that pulsed with a soft, rhythmic light. "What do you think this is?" Jonah asked, his eyes scanning the platform. Dr. Wu stepped closer, her expression filled with wonder. "It looks like a control interface of some kind," she suggested. "Maybe it's a way to interact with the ship, to communicate with it." I felt a rush of excitement. If we can figure out how to use it, we might be able to send a message or respond to the ship's inquiries. Jonah approached the platform cautiously, his hands hovering just above its surface. "How do we even begin?" Dr. Wu's eyes sparkled with determination. "We start by studying the glyphs and symbols. There must be a way to align them with our intent." We gathered around the platform, studying the symbols that danced across its surface. The pulsing light shifted as we approached, responding to our presence. I felt a strange connection to it, as if the ship recognized our intent. Dr. Wu began to touch the glyphs, tracing their shapes with her fingers. Each contact sent a ripple of energy through the platform, new symbols and patterns. It felt like the ship was awakening, eager to connect. Jonah and I exchanged glances, a mix of apprehension and excitement swirling between us. "Do you think it understands us?" Jonah asked, his skepticism momentarily set aside. "I believe it wants to," I replied, feeling the weight of our mission pressing upon us. "But we need to show it that we're here to learn, not to harm." As Dr. Wu continued to interact with the glyphs, the energy in the room intensified. The air crackled with anticipation, and I could feel the ship responding to our collective intent. "Look!" Dr. Wu exclaimed, her eyes widening as new symbols D on the platform. "It's forming a connection." The light pulsed, shifting and morphing into shapes that resembled the glyphs we had seen throughout the ship. It was as if the ship was inviting us to participate in its story, to share in its legacy. Jonah stepped closer, his expression shifting from skepticism to awe. "We're not just observing anymore," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "We're part of this." "Exactly," I affirmed, a sense of purpose igniting within me. "We're here to build a bridge, to learn and understand." Dr. Wu's fingers danced across the platform, tracing the glyphs as the symbols began to coalesce into a coherent sequence. The energy in the room reached a crescendo, a vibrant symphony of light and sound. I felt a surge of connection, a deep resonance that intertwined our intentions with the ship's own. "We need to focus on our message," I urged. "What do we want it to know?" Jonah took a breath, grounding himself in the moment. "We need to convey our willingness to learn, to understand their history and the lessons they've faced." "Yes," Dr. Wu added, her voice steady. "We need to show that we respect their past and are committed to avoiding the mistakes that led to their downfall." As we concentrated on our shared message, the platform reacted, the light shifting and pulsing in rhythm with our intentions. The symbols began to align, forming patterns that felt significant and profound. I closed my eyes, allowing the energy to envelop me, focusing on the essence of what we wanted to convey. In that moment, the boundaries between us and the ship blurred, and I felt as if we were merging with the very fabric of the universe. The symbols on the platform began to transform, evolving into a visual representation of our message, a tapestry of intention woven from the threads of our thoughts and hopes. Suddenly, the room exploded with light, a brilliant cascade that enveloped us completely. I felt as if we were being transported, pulled into the heart of the ship's consciousness. And then, silence. As the light faded, we found ourselves standing in a vast expanse, a realm filled with swirling colors and shapes that defied description. It was as if we had stepped into a dream, an otherworldly landscape that pulsed with the energy of existence itself. Before us, the alien being appeared, its form shifting and ethereal, a reflection of the ship's essence. Its presence was overwhelming, a being of pure energy that resonated with the core of the universe. "Why?" the being asked, its voice echoing in my mind. The question was simple yet profound, reverberating through my very being. I felt the weight of it, the essence of our journey crystallizing in that singular moment. "We seek understanding," I replied, my voice steady. "We want to learn from your history, to understand the lessons you faced." The being's form shifted, its colors swirling like a cosmic dance. "You come seeking knowledge, but what do you offer in return?" I felt the gravity of its inquiry, the weight of our responsibility. "We offer respect," I answered, conviction infusing my words. "We want to build a bridge, to honor your past and ensure we do not repeat the mistakes of history." The being's energy pulsed, a vibrant rhythm that resonated with my very core. "Then show me." In that moment, I understood. We were not just here to learn. We were here to demonstrate our commitment to change, to forge a path forward together. As we began to express our intent, the colors around us shifted and swirled, forming a connection that transcended words. It was a bond forged in the fires of understanding, a promise to honor the past while stepping boldly into the future. Together, we embarked on a journey that would redefine our relationship with the universe and the beings that inhabited it. It was a commitment to learn, to grow, and to navigate the complexities of existence with humility and grace. And as we stood on the precipice of this new reality, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope, a belief that together we could create a narrative that would echo through the stars. The alien being before us shimmered like a mirage, its form flickering between tangible and ethereal. Every detail was clear yet elusive, its presence both grounding and disorienting. The very essence of the ship seemed to resonate around us, enveloping us in a cocoon of pulsating energy that vibrated with our thoughts and intentions. As we adjusted to this new reality, I took a moment to consider our journey. We had entered the ship as explorers, curious about the technology and history of an alien civilization. Now, we found ourselves in a situation that transcended mere discovery. This was a dialogue, a chance to forge a connection with a consciousness that existed beyond the constraints of time and space. Jonah stood slightly to my left, his posture relaxed but alert. His initial skepticism had transformed into a cautious curiosity. He glanced at me, his eyes searching for confirmation that we were on the right path. I could sense the weight of his thoughts, the responsibility he felt not just for our team, but for the potential consequences of our actions. Dr. Wu was positioned slightly ahead, her gaze locked onto the being. There was a fierce determination in her eyes. She had dedicated her life to understanding the unknown, and now that very unknown had taken form before us. Her presence radiated a quiet strength, a commitment to bridging the gap between our worlds. "Show me," the being had said, its voice echoing within the recesses of my mind. It was not merely a request. It was an imperative, a challenge that compelled us to articulate our intentions clearly and meaningfully. I inhaled deeply, feeling the energy around me pulse in response. "We want to build a connection," I spoke aloud, my voice steady in the stillness. "We are not here to conquer or exploit. We wish to learn and grow together." The being's form rippled, and I could sense its scrutiny. It felt as though it were weighing my words, examining their authenticity. The gravity of the moment pressed upon me, the need for sincerity paramount. "What does growth mean to you?" it asked, the question resonating deeply within the core of my being. I took a moment to gather my thoughts. Growth means understanding. It means acknowledging our past mistakes and striving to create a future that honors both our histories. It's about recognizing that we are all part of a greater narrative. The being's energy shifted again, colors blending into a harmonious spectrum that reflected my words. "Understanding is a path fraught with obstacles," it replied, its voice a deep resonance that echoed with ancient wisdom. "What will you do when faced with the truth of your existence?" I felt the weight of its inquiry, the challenge embedded within. The truth was complex, layered with the nuances of our humanity. "We will confront it," I responded, my voice unwavering. "We will embrace the discomfort that comes with understanding, even when it reveals the darker parts of ourselves." Jonah shifted slightly, the air between us thick with contemplation. He took a breath, as if drawing courage from the moment. "It's about finding balance," he added, his tone steady. "We've learned that strength can emerge from vulnerability. We are not perfect, but we strive to be better." The being's form shimmered, its colors brightening as if in approval. It felt as though our words had sparked a resonance within it, a harmony of thought that echoed across the vastness of existence. "Then you must share your truth," it urged, its voice intertwining with the energy that enveloped us. "To understand one another, you must first lay bare your own story." A moment of silence settled among us, each of us contemplating the gravity of the request. I could feel the weight of my own experiences pressing down on me, memories flooding my mind. I turned to Jonah and Dr. Wu, both of them attentive, ready to listen. "We've all faced challenges that have shaped who we are," I began, drawing from the depths of my recollections. "When we embarked on this journey, we sought adventure, but we found much more than we anticipated." Jonah nodded slightly, his expression shifting from apprehension to openness. "The mission started as a way to explore the unknown," he said, his voice resonating with a mix of reflection and determination. "But it quickly evolved into something deeper, a quest for understanding ourselves." Dr. Wu stepped forward, her gaze steady. "I've spent my life studying the complexities of civilizations," she said, her voice clear. "But I realize now that understanding the past isn't just about facts. It's about acknowledging the emotions and experiences that drive people. We often forget that behind every civilization are individual lives, filled with hope, fear, and aspiration." As she spoke, I felt a wave of shared understanding wash over us. This moment was not merely about recounting our experiences. It was about connecting on a level that transcended the physical. I took a deep breath, allowing the weight of our shared history to settle within me. When we first encountered alien technology, it was daunting. We were filled with excitement and trepidation, aware of the potential for both discovery and destruction. We came from a world that had faced its own share of conflicts, war, division, and strife. Our past is marred by our failures. Jonah's expression grew serious as he continued. "We've seen the consequences of misunderstanding. In our pursuit of progress, we've often overlooked the impacts of our actions on others. There were times when I felt lost in that cycle, unsure of how to navigate the complexities of our existence." Dr. Wu's gaze flickered with empathy. "But it was through these experiences that we began to understand the need for dialogue. We realized that every encounter carries the weight of history, and if we want to create a better future, we must learn to listen." As we shared our truths, the being's energy pulsed around us, responding to the sincerity in our words. It felt as if the space itself was absorbing our stories, weaving them into the fabric of the moment. "Your vulnerability is a strength," the being said, its voice a blend of warmth and authority. "To confront your past, to acknowledge your fears, is the first step toward understanding. But growth requires more than words, it demands action." I nodded, feeling the truth of its statement resonate within me. "We're prepared to take action," I said, my voice steady. "We want to collaborate, to build bridges between our civilizations." "Then demonstrate your commitment," it urged. "Your journey is not just about understanding, it's about creating a shared future." The moment hung in the air, charged with possibilities. We had spoken our truths, laid bare our intentions, but now it was time to translate those intentions into meaningful action. "What do you propose?" Jonah asked, his voice firm. "Engage with the essence of this ship," the being replied. "Learn from it, connect with its memories, and reflect upon your own. Only then can you build the foundation for a new narrative." The weight of its words hung between us. I felt a surge of determination, the clarity of purpose igniting within me. "We will connect with the ship," I declared. "We will explore its history and legacy, and in doing so, find a way to communicate our shared experiences." Dr. Wu nodded, her excitement palpable. "This is an opportunity to understand the very fabric of their existence. We must immerse ourselves in their stories." Jonah stepped forward, a newfound energy radiating from him. "Let's begin," he urged. "We have a chance to reshape our future, but it starts here. As we shifted our focus back to the platform, I felt the anticipation grow, a sense of purpose propelling us forward. We were on the cusp of something profound, a journey that would challenge our perceptions and expand our understanding of existence itself. The platform glowed in response to our renewed commitment, the symbols dancing in a rhythm that resonated with our intentions. I felt a connection forming, a bridge between our thoughts and the essence of the ship that surrounded us. As I placed my hands on the platform, I felt the energy surge beneath my fingertips, a pulse that mirrored my heartbeat. I closed my eyes, allowing the sensations to wash over me. The world around us began to shift again, colors swirling into a vibrant tapestry of experiences. I felt myself being drawn into the memories of the ship, the echoes of a civilization that had faced both triumph and despair. Visions flooded my mind, flashes of life within the ship, moments of joy interspersed with hardship. I witnessed families gathering to celebrate, the laughter and love that filled the air. But alongside those moments were darker memories, conflict, loss, and the fracturing of a once harmonious existence. I could feel the weight of their experiences pressing upon me, a collective history that transcended time. It was overwhelming and beautiful, a reminder that the essence of existence is often intertwined with both light and shadow. Through it all, a profound realization settled within me. We were not alone in our struggles. The challenges we faced mirrored those of countless civilizations across the universe. The desire for connection, for understanding, is a universal thread that binds us together. As the visions ebbed and flowed, I felt Jonah and Dr. Wu at my sides, their presence a steady anchor in the midst of the emotional storm. Together, we were weaving our own experiences into the narrative, creating a tapestry that connected our past to the future we sought to build. Time felt fluid in this space, the boundaries of the present blurring as we navigated the collective memories of the ship. Each pulse of energy guided us deeper into the essence of its existence, the vibrations resonating with our own stories. I turned to Jonah, sensing the gravity of the moment. "We're part of something much larger," I said, my voice steady. "This is our chance to create change, to redefine our narrative." He nodded, the determination in his eyes matching my own. "We need to honor their history while forging our own path forward." Dr. Wu's voice broke through the reverie, a mix of excitement and focus. "This is a moment of transformation. We must embrace it." With renewed purpose, we immersed ourselves in the collective memories, allowing them to guide us. The visions morphed into shapes and symbols, each one representing a lesson learned, a challenge faced, and a hope realized. We witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the complexities of relationships, and the intricacies of existence. Through each memory, we began to uncover the threads that connected our journeys, weaving a tapestry of understanding that transcended time and space. As the energy around us pulsed, I felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the ship, but to the very essence of existence. We were all part of a shared narrative, a continuum of experiences that defined the universe. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "This is our opportunity to rewrite our story," I declared. "Together, we can learn from the past and create a future that honors all our experiences." Jonah's voice echoed in agreement. "It's about finding harmony within the chaos. We have the power to make a difference." Dr. Wu stepped forward, her gaze steady. "Let's share our findings, not just with each other, but with the universe. We have a responsibility to honor their legacy." With our intentions clear, we began to channel the energy of the ship, expressing our commitment to collaboration and understanding. The platform responded, the symbols dancing in a vibrant rhythm as we focused our collective intent. As the light enveloped us once more, I felt a surge of hope, a belief that our journey was only beginning. We were not just observers, we were active participants in a grand narrative, ready to shape the future with intention and purpose. And as the ship embraced us in its luminous embrace, I realized that the stories we shared were not just our own. They belonged to the very fabric of existence, a testament to the power of connection and the potential for growth. In that moment, I understood that the path ahead would not be easy. It would be filled with challenges, obstacles, and moments of doubt. But we were equipped with the wisdom of our experiences, ready to navigate the complexities of our intertwined destinies. Together, we would forge a new narrative, a story of understanding, compassion, and the unwavering pursuit of connection. And as we stood on the precipice of this journey, I felt a deep sense of purpose enveloping us, guiding us forward into the unknown. This was our moment to rise, to embrace the challenges ahead, and to shape a future that honored the lessons of the past. With each step, we would create a new path, one that would resonate through the stars, echoing the shared experiences of all who came before us. As the light began to fade and the visions coalesced into a singular point of focus, I felt a surge of gratitude. We had embarked on a journey that would redefine our understanding of existence, and together, we would carry the legacy of this moment into the future. The ship was no longer just a vessel. It had become a partner in our journey, a living embodiment of the stories we sought to share. And as we prepared to step into the next phase of our mission, I felt a renewed sense of purpose, a commitment to honor the legacy of those who had come before us while forging a path toward understanding and connection. We were ready to face whatever lay ahead, united in our resolve to create a narrative that would resonate across the cosmos, a testament to the enduring power of connection and the limitless potential of growth. And with that, we stepped forward into the future, prepared to embrace the challenges and triumphs that awaited us on our journey. The ship had become a living entity, a pulsating embodiment of history and technology, cradling us within its depths. The moment we had stepped aboard, it had enveloped us in its vibrant energy, a force that intertwined our thoughts and intentions with its own. We were no longer just visitors. We were participants in a narrative that had been unfolding long before we had arrived. Jonah, Dr. Wu, and I stood in the center of the ship's core chamber, surrounded by walls that shifted with a mesmerizing array of colors and symbols. The air vibrated with a low hum, an almost musical resonance that echoed our presence. Each pulse felt like an invitation, a challenge to engage with the ship on a deeper level. I shifted my weight from one foot to the other, the floor beneath me warm and alive. My senses were heightened, absorbing every detail, the way the light refracted off the walls, the intricate patterns that seemed to tell a story of their own. This was not mere decoration, it was communication, a language we had yet to decipher. "Look at that," Jonah said, pointing toward a cluster of symbols that glowed brighter than the others. His voice carried a blend of excitement and caution, a reflection of the tension we all felt. "It seems to respond to our presence." Dr. Wu stepped closer, her eyes narrowing as she focused on the symbols. "They might represent a form of data exchange. If we can interpret their meaning, we could unlock more than just the ship's history. We could understand its purpose." I could sense the weight of our task, the responsibility of delving into a civilization that had experienced both wonder and loss. It was not merely about uncovering information. It was about respecting the narratives entwined within the ship's core. Each symbol, each pulse of light, carried a significance that extended beyond our comprehension. "Let's approach this carefully," I said, grounding myself in the reality of our situation. "We need to show respect for what this ship represents. If it truly is a repository of knowledge, we cannot treat it lightly." Jonah nodded, his enthusiasm tempered by an awareness of the moment's gravity. "What if we begin by recording our observations?" he suggested, his mind clearly working through the implications. "Documenting our findings might help us draw connections later." "That's a good idea," Dr. Wu agreed, pulling out her datapad. "We need to create a framework for understanding what we encounter. If we can establish a baseline, it will help us navigate this unknown territory." I watched as they began to document their observations, the room filled with a sense of purpose. As I turned my attention back to the symbols, I felt the energy shift slightly, as if the ship were responding to our intentions. The air thickened with potential, a silent promise of discovery just beyond our reach. Approaching the glowing cluster of symbols, I reached out a hand, letting my fingertips hover just above the surface. A warm sensation enveloped my skin, sending a jolt of awareness through me. The light pulsed rhythmically, and I could almost hear the whispers of the ship's history echoing in the back of my mind. "What are you feeling?" Jonah asked, glancing up from his datapad. His expression was a mix of curiosity and concern. "I'm not sure," I replied, choosing my words carefully. "It's like I can sense something, an energy that feels both inviting and heavy. It's as if the ship is aware of us, of our intentions." Dr. Wu stepped closer, her eyes widening as she observed my interaction with the symbols. "That's significant. It could indicate a form of consciousness within the ship itself. Perhaps it's more than just a vessel. It might be a guardian of its own history." "Or a judge," Jonah added, his brow furrowing. "If it can sense our intentions, we must be careful about what we reveal." His words lingered in the air, a reminder that our actions had consequences. The weight of our mission pressed down on us, grounding us in the reality of our exploration. We were on the brink of uncovering something monumental, yet it required a level of caution that was easy to overlook in the face of curiosity. "We need to find a way to communicate with it," I said, my gaze fixed on the symbols. "If we can establish a dialogue, we might learn how to unlock the secrets it holds." Dr. Wu nodded thoughtfully. "But how do we initiate that communication? We can't assume it operates on the same principles as we do." "Perhaps we start with intention," Jonah suggested, his voice steady. "If we can convey our desire to learn and share, maybe it will respond in kind." With a shared sense of purpose, we closed our eyes, allowing ourselves to become still. The hum of the ship enveloped us, a comforting presence that beckoned us to listen. I focused on my breath, grounding myself in the moment. This was not merely an exploration. It was a communion with a being that existed beyond our comprehension. After a few moments of silence, I felt a subtle shift in the energy around us, a gentle pulsing that matched the rhythm of my heartbeat. "I think it's responding," I whispered, my voice barely above a breath. Dr. Wu opened her eyes, a look of determination etched on her face. "Let's try expressing our intentions verbally. Perhaps if we articulate our desire for connection, it will help bridge the gap between us." "Agreed," Jonah said, his gaze fixed on the symbols. "I'll start." With that, he stepped forward, his posture relaxed but focused. "We are here to learn and understand," he began, his voice steady. "We come in peace, seeking knowledge about your history and purpose. We wish to share our own experiences and build a connection." As his words echoed in the chamber, the symbols responded, brightening momentarily before returning to their previous glow. The hum of the ship deepened, resonating through the space like the sound of a distant chant. Dr. Wu took her turn, stepping up beside Jonah. "We recognize that our past is filled with mistakes," she said, her tone sincere. "We understand the importance of learning from those experiences. We hope to honor your story while forging our own path forward." The air around us thickened, charged with energy as her words settled into the atmosphere. I felt a sense of anticipation building within me, a promise of connection that lingered just out of reach. "Now it's my turn," I said, stepping closer to the symbols. "We are not perfect, but we strive for growth and understanding. Our intention is to foster a relationship based on mutual respect and collaboration." As I spoke, the symbols pulsed in response, a shimmering light that felt almost like a heartbeat. The air vibrated with energy, and I sensed a shift in the atmosphere, as though the ship were absorbing our intentions. Suddenly, a series of images flickered in my mind, flashes of light and shadow intertwined. I saw visions of the ship's past, scenes of life aboard a bustling vessel, its corridors filled with the laughter and voices of its inhabitants. But there were also moments of conflict, shadows creeping into the vibrant scenes, hinting at struggles that had threatened to tear the fabric of their existence apart. I stumbled back, catching myself against the platform. "It's showing me something," I breathed, trying to make sense of the overwhelming sensations. Memories of its people, their lives, and their struggles. Jonah looked at me, his expression a mix of intrigue and concern. "What do you see?" "It's a tapestry of existence," I replied, the words tumbling out before I could think. "Joy interwoven with pain, moments of unity overshadowed by conflict. They were a civilization rich with experience, but also burdened by their choices. Dr. Wu stepped forward, her gaze focused. This is crucial. If the ship is sharing its history, it means it wants us to understand its significance. The symbols began to shift again, the energy pulsating more rapidly. I felt a sense of urgency, as if the ship were urging us to engage further, to peel back the layers of its history. We must respond, I said, the weight of responsibility settling over us. We need to acknowledge their experiences and express our commitment to learning from them. Jonah nodded, his brow furrowing in concentration. I'll take the lead again. He stepped forward, his voice strong and clear. We hear you, he said, projecting sincerity. We understand that your history is complex, filled with moments of both triumph and despair. We wish to honor that legacy by sharing our own. Dr. Wu joined him, her voice steady. We are not here to impose our will. We come with open hearts and minds, ready to listen and learn. As their words echoed in the chamber, I felt the air grow thick with anticipation. The symbols flickered, their glow intensifying as if encouraging our exchange. The ship was alive, responding to our intentions, and I felt a profound connection deepening between us. I took a breath, stepping forward once more. Your history matters. We will carry your story forward, sharing the lessons we learned from you with our own people. We believe in the power of connection. With each word, I felt the energy shift, coalescing into something tangible. The symbols pulsed, a vibrant response that resonated with our commitment to honor their legacy. For a moment, silence enveloped us, and I could feel the weight of the ship's history pressing against us, a shared understanding unfolding in the air. It was a moment of communion, a recognition of the intricacies of existence that transcended our individual experiences. Then, as if responding to our collective resolve, the symbols transformed, swirling into a vibrant display of light that filled the chamber. The air thrummed with energy, and I felt a sense of clarity emerge from the chaos. Jonah's eyes widened in wonder. What is happening? The light enveloped us, swirling and coalescing into a form that resembled a map, a vivid representation of the ship's journey through time and space. The symbols danced across the surface, revealing paths taken, choices made, and consequences faced. This is incredible, Dr. Wu breathed, stepping closer to the display. It's a record of their civilization's history, laid out before us. The map pulsed with energy, drawing our attention to specific points that shimmered brighter than the rest. Each one represented a pivotal moment, a choice that had shaped the trajectory of their existence. I leaned closer, tracing the patterns with my finger. These moments, they reflect their struggles and triumphs. It's a reminder of the complexity of their existence. Jonah nodded, his gaze fixated on the map. We must study this carefully. Each point holds significance, and understanding their context will help us learn from their experiences. The ship hummed softly, a melodic resonance that filled the chamber. I felt a sense of urgency to delve deeper into this newfound knowledge, to uncover the layers of meaning that lay within. As we examined the map, I began to notice connections between the moments displayed. Choices made out of fear, decisions driven by hope, and the consequences that rippled through time. Each point told a story, a reminder that history was not a linear path, but a complex web of interactions and outcomes. We need to document this, Dr. Wu said, her voice filled with conviction. If we can record these moments, we can better understand the lessons they offer. Jonah and I nodded, our focus unwavering as we worked together to capture the details of the map. The symbols flickered as we moved through the history, our path as we engaged with the ship's narrative. Hours seemed to blur into one another as we meticulously recorded our findings, each moment leading us deeper into the complexities of the ship's existence. We immersed ourselves in the collective memory, allowing it to guide us, enriching our understanding of both the ship and our own journey. At some point, I glanced at Jonah, noting the determination etched on his face. What do you think will happen when we fully unlock their history? I asked, the question hanging in the air between us. He paused, considering the weight of my inquiry. I believe it could offer us a profound perspective on our own choices. Understanding their past might guide us in shaping a better future. And it might reveal the paths we need to avoid, Dr. Wu added, her gaze thoughtful. We have the opportunity to learn from their experiences, to honor their legacy by forging a path rooted in understanding and compassion. As we continued our work, the air around us shifted again, a gentle breeze that felt almost like a whisper. I looked up, sensing that the ship was aware of our progress, of our commitment to honoring its narrative. Suddenly, a new series of symbols emerged, cascading across the map like falling leaves. They formed a cluster of bright colors, each hue representing a different emotion: joy, sorrow, hope, despair. "This is fascinating," Jonah said, his excitement palpable. "It's as if they are showing us the emotional weight of their journey." I leaned closer, captivated by the intricate dance of colors. It's a reminder that every experience is multifaceted, filled with a range of emotions that shape our understanding of existence. Dr. Wu stepped back, her expression contemplative. "We must remember that history is not merely a sequence of events. It's a collection of feelings, choices, and consequences. If we can grasp the emotional depth of their experiences, it will enrich our understanding of our own journey." The symbols began to pulse in a steady rhythm, echoing our thoughts. I felt a sense of unity between us and the ship, a shared commitment to honoring the complexity of existence. As we continued our exploration, I realized that our journey was not just about uncovering the ship's history. It was about fostering a relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. Each moment of discovery brought us closer, weaving our narratives together in a tapestry of shared experiences. With every interaction, I felt the weight of our responsibility growing. We were not just here to observe. We were here to engage, to learn, and to carry forward the lessons embedded in the ship's core. As the hours passed, we found ourselves lost in the symphony of knowledge. Each discovery deepened our understanding, each revelation a path forward. The ship's history was a reminder of the complexities of existence, a testament to the importance of connection. And as we prepared to leave the chamber, I felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over me. We were on the brink of a new beginning, ready to forge a future that honored the past. With each step we took, we were not just walking away from the ship. We were carrying its legacy forward, intertwining our stories with its own. Together, we would navigate the unknown, shaping a narrative that resonated through time and space, a testament to the enduring power of connection and the potential for growth. And as we moved into the future, I felt a renewed sense of purpose guiding us, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. The interior of the ship buzzed with a quiet intensity as we delved deeper into its history. The chamber where we had gathered felt both familiar and foreign, a space that resonated with energy yet also reminded us of the vast unknown ahead. The air was thick with anticipation, the subtle hum of the ship serving as a reminder of its living essence. Each symbol etched into the walls told a story, a fragment of life from a civilization that had long since vanished. Standing together, Jonah, Dr. Wu, and I formed a small triangle, our focus locked on the intricate symbols that pulsed with light. The chamber felt alive with potential, every flicker of whispering secrets from the past. We were aware that our mission extended beyond mere exploration. It was a responsibility to understand and honor what had come before us. Jonah leaned closer to a cluster of symbols, his brow furrowed in concentration. "These patterns seem to indicate significant events," he observed, his voice steady. "Each one might represent a moment that shaped their culture." "Indeed," Dr. Wu replied, her eyes scanning the markings. "The patterns are not random. They are woven together, each telling a part of a larger story. We must take our time to decipher them carefully." I stepped forward, feeling the warmth radiate from the walls. It was an invitation to connect, to bridge the gap between our worlds. "Let's begin documenting what we see," I suggested. "If we can establish a comprehensive record, we may be able to interpret the narrative more effectively." Dr. Wu nodded in agreement, retrieving her datapad and activating its interface. The screen flickered to life, ready to capture our observations. "We need to be meticulous," she said. "Every detail may hold significance." As we began to catalog the symbols, the atmosphere shifted subtly. Each moment felt weighted, as if the ship itself was aware of our intentions. The pulsating lights brightened in response to our actions, creating an interplay that drew us further into the narrative. "I think we should also consider the context of each symbol," Jonah suggested, glancing at the others. "What they might mean in relation to one another could reveal more about their society's values and challenges." "That's a solid approach," Dr. Wu replied. "Understanding the interconnectedness of these moments will provide insight into their way of life. We should also remain open to the possibility that our interpretations may evolve as we uncover more." We continued our documentation, each note a careful reflection of the details surrounding us. The ship's energy resonated with our efforts, the symbols flickering in response to our words. I felt a surge of connection, an understanding that we were not just observers, but participants in a story that transcended time. Hours passed as we immersed ourselves in the exploration. Each symbol revealed layers of meaning, from mundane daily routines to profound cultural shifts. I found myself captivated by the vibrancy of their existence, the intricacies of their interactions, and the weight of their choices. "I'm starting to see patterns," I said, glancing at the datapad where Dr. Wu was meticulously recording our observations. "These symbols form a complex web, reflecting their struggles and triumphs." "Precisely," Jonah added, a hint of excitement in his voice. "It's as if we're piecing together a puzzle that reveals the essence of who they were." The hum of the ship intensified, and I felt a rush of warmth enveloping us. The symbols pulsed in a rhythmic dance, urging us to delve deeper into their narrative. I took a step back, allowing the energy to wash over me, grounding myself in the moment. "Perhaps we should express our intentions to the ship," I proposed, feeling a sense of urgency to establish a connection. "If it's aware of us, we might be able to communicate our desire to learn." Jonah looked thoughtful. "How do we even begin that?" "We articulate our purpose clearly," Dr. Wu responded, her tone calm and deliberate. "Let it know that we come in peace, seeking knowledge about its history and the lives of those who once inhabited it." With a collective resolve, we took a step back, forming a small circle around the most prominent symbol. I closed my eyes briefly, centering myself. It was time to honor the essence of the ship and its legacy. "Let's start with a simple declaration," I suggested, my heart steadying. "I'll begin." I opened my eyes, drawing in a deep breath. "We are here to learn and to understand. We come in peace, seeking knowledge about your history and purpose. We wish to honor your legacy through our actions." As my words reverberated in the chamber, the air thickened with energy. The bright symbol pulsed gently in response, a soft acknowledgement of my presence. Jonah stepped forward, his voice earnest. "We recognize that the past holds lessons we must learn from. We are here not to impose, but to listen and understand." Dr. Wu followed, her gaze unwavering. "We wish to create a bond, a bridge between our worlds. Your story matters, and we hope to honor it by sharing our own experiences." With each word spoken, I felt the atmosphere shift, the ship responding to our declarations. The bright symbol flickered, pulsing in harmony with our intentions. "Can you feel that?" Jonah asked, glancing at us, a hint of excitement in his voice. "It's like it's responding to our words." "I feel it too," Dr. Wu replied, her eyes wide with realization. "This is significant. If the ship is aware of us, it means we're on the right path." Encouraged by the palpable energy, I stepped closer to the symbol, feeling its warmth radiate around me. "What do you wish to share with us?" I asked, my voice steady yet filled with hope. "We are open to learning." The air crackled with energy, and suddenly, images began to flicker in my mind, vivid fragments of memories that seemed to weave together, forming a tapestry of experiences. I saw flashes of light, vibrant colors signifying life, interspersed with shadows hinting at struggles and losses. "What do you see?" Jonah asked, his eyes narrowing with interest. It's like I'm glimpsing their history, I replied, struggling to articulate the overwhelming sensations. There's joy, but also pain. They lived fully, experiencing both triumphs and tragedies. Dr. Wu stepped closer, her expression serious. This is crucial. We need to understand the context of their experiences, the full spectrum of their existence. As the images grew clearer, they revealed scenes of daily life aboard the ship. Laughter echoed in the corridors, people working together to create something beautiful. Yet there were darker moments too, shadows creeping in, hinting at conflicts that threatened to unravel their world. This ship has seen so much, I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper. It's a reflection of their struggles and aspirations. Jonah nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. We need to honor those experiences. If we're to learn from them, we must acknowledge the weight of their journey. I agree, Dr. Wu said, her gaze focused on the symbols. Let's continue to document our findings. If the ship is sharing its history, we have to capture it before it fades. As we worked together, the atmosphere shifted again, the air thickening with anticipation. The symbols pulsed gently, as if urging us to delve deeper into the narrative. I felt a growing connection to the ship, a bond that transcended our differences. The hours blurred together as we pieced together the complex narrative laid out before us. Each discovery deepened our understanding, enriching our perspective on our own journey. I think we're starting to see patterns, Jonah said, glancing at the datapad. These moments, they're not isolated. They're interconnected, forming a larger narrative. Dr. Wu nodded, her expression contemplative. Yes, each choice they made influenced the next, creating a web of experiences that shaped their civilization. It's a reminder that our actions hold weight. As we continued to document our findings, the air around us shimmered with energy, a vibrant tapestry of life and history. The ship seemed to resonate with our commitment to understanding, the symbols glowing more brightly as we worked together. What do you think will happen when we fully uncover their history? I asked, the question lingering in the air. Jonah paused, considering the implications. I believe it could offer us insight into our own choices. Understanding their past may guide us in shaping a better future. And it may reveal the paths we need to avoid, Dr. Wu added, her tone serious. We have the opportunity to learn from their mistakes, to forge a path rooted in understanding. With a renewed sense of purpose, we continued our exploration, the atmosphere charged with potential. Each moment brought us closer to uncovering the intricacies of the ship's history, a journey that felt both exhilarating and humbling. As we approached a cluster of symbols that glowed with a soft blue light, I felt a wave of anticipation wash over me. These look different, I said, pointing to the symbols. What do you think they represent? Jonah stepped closer, studying them with interest. They could signify moments of unity or collaboration, times when their civilization came together to achieve something greater. Dr. Wu nodded in agreement. We should take a closer look. If these moments are rooted in cooperation, they could provide valuable lessons. As we examined the symbols, the air vibrated with energy, resonating with the essence of shared experiences. The colors pulsed gently, almost as if inviting us to delve deeper into their meaning. I think we're on the verge of something significant, I said, my voice filled with excitement. If these moments are connected to unity, they might reveal the foundation of their culture. Let's document everything, Jonah replied, his focus intense. If these symbols represent pivotal moments, we must capture their essence before we lose it. We worked methodically, documenting each symbol and its potential implications. The ship's energy felt palpable, an echo of the lives that once thrived within its walls. As we recorded our findings, a realization began to dawn upon me. If we can uncover the essence of their unity, we might also discover what led to their downfall, I mused aloud, the weight of the statement sinking in. Jonah looked thoughtful. That's true. Understanding their collaborative moments may shed light on the tensions that ultimately divided them. Dr. Wu's gaze was focused, her attention fixed on the symbols before us. This is crucial. If we can understand how unity shaped their choices, we can reflect on our own paths. The symbols glowed brightly, an encouragement to delve further into their narrative. As we pressed on, I felt a growing sense of urgency. This journey was about more than discovery. It was about honoring the legacy of those who came before us. Let's continue to honor their story, I said, feeling the weight of our responsibility. We owe it to them to ensure their experiences resonate within our own journey. And so, we immersed ourselves in the exploration, each moment steeped in purpose and intention. The ship's narrative unfolded, a rich tapestry of experiences woven from the threads of connection and understanding. Each symbol carried its weight, revealing layers of meaning that deepened our appreciation for the lives once lived aboard the vessel. With every discovery, we inched closer to comprehending the essence of their culture, the complexity of their relationships, and the choices that shaped their existence. The ship seemed to hum with life, a testament to the enduring power of connection, urging us to continue our quest for understanding. Hours turned into days, yet time felt fluid within the ship's embrace. We were not merely studying symbols, we were engaging with the essence of a civilization that had thrived within these walls. The narrative we pieced together became a living testament, a bridge between our worlds that would inform our future. "Do you ever wonder what their world looked like beyond the ship?" Jonah asked one evening, his voice low as we sat in the chamber, surrounded by the glowing symbols. "It's a compelling thought," I replied, glancing at the flickering lights. "I can only imagine the landscapes and communities they created. This ship was a part of their identity, but it was also an extension of their culture." Dr. Wu nodded, her expression thoughtful. Understanding their environment could provide further insight into their choices. Perhaps we can find remnants of their world as we continue our exploration. The idea lingered in the air, a tantalizing possibility. With each passing moment, I felt the weight of our journey, the stories waiting to be unearthed, the connections yearning to be made. As we resumed our documentation, the ship seemed to pulse with energy, as if resonating with our thoughts. The symbols shimmered brighter, inviting us to explore the narrative more deeply. What if their choices were not just about survival, but also about the essence of being human? I pondered aloud. What if they sought connection, understanding, and shared experiences? Jonah's eyes lit up. That's a profound perspective. If we can frame their experiences within that context, we might uncover layers of meaning that resonate with our own struggles. Dr. Wu's gaze was intense, her focus unwavering. Let's continue to explore that narrative. If we can understand their quest for connection, we may find common ground in our own journeys. With a renewed sense of purpose, we pressed on, delving deeper into the intricacies of the ship's story. The atmosphere pulsed with energy, each symbol glowing brightly in response to our commitment to understanding. As we explored the symbols connected to unity, I felt the weight of their experiences wash over me. It was a reminder that every choice mattered, every moment of connection carried significance. We must also consider the implications of their struggles, I suggested. If we are to learn from their history, we need to understand the forces that threaten their unity. Jonah nodded, his expression serious. True. The challenges they faced could offer valuable lessons about resilience and the fragility of connection. Dr. Wu's gaze shifted to the symbols. Let's document the complexities of their narrative. If we can capture the essence of their struggles, we may find insights that can guide our own paths. And so, we continued to explore the depths of their history, the ship's energy resonating with our efforts. Each moment felt pregnant with potential, a reminder that we were part of a larger narrative, one that spanned time and space, connecting us to those who came before us. With every discovery, I felt the weight of our responsibility grow heavier. We were not merely documenting symbols, we were engaging with the essence of a civilization, a duty to honor their legacy through our understanding. As the symbols flickered around us, I understood that this journey was not just about knowledge, it was about connection. The lessons embedded within their history had the power to shape our own narratives, guiding us toward a more thoughtful existence. With renewed determination, we pressed on, ready to uncover the complexities of their story and forge a path that honored the legacy of those who had come before us. The ship stood as a testament to the enduring power of connection, a reminder that every moment mattered, and every choice shaped our journey forward. As we delved deeper into the exploration, I sensed the ship's story urging us onward, inviting us to navigate the intricate web of experiences that connected our lives. It was a call to action, a reminder that our paths were intertwined, and that through understanding, we could honor the past while shaping a more meaningful future. As we stood in the heart of the ship, the vibrant symbols pulsing around us, a sense of closure began to weave itself into our journey. We had delved into the intricacies of a civilization that once thrived in these very walls, unraveling layers of meaning that echoed with the wisdom of ages past. Each symbol not just a moment, but the essence of a people who sought connection, understanding, and unity amid the complexities of existence. The insights we had gleaned resonated deeply within us. We had explored the patterns of their lives, the triumphs that brought them together, and the struggles that threatened to tear them apart. The air was thick with the weight of their experiences, and I felt a profound sense of responsibility to honor their legacy through our own actions moving forward. "This ship," Jonah said, his voice steady yet filled with emotion, "is not just a relic of the past. It's a living testament to the choices they made and the connections they forged. We carry their story with us now." Dr. Wu nodded in agreement, her expression contemplative. "The lessons we've uncovered here are not limited to the past. They are threads that connect us to our own journey. Understanding their history offers us the opportunity to reflect on our choices and the paths we create." I took a deep breath, absorbing the energy of the ship around us. The pulsating symbols seemed to respond, as if acknowledging our reflections. We were no longer merely explorers. We had become custodians of their narrative, tasked with preserving and sharing the wisdom that echoed within these walls. "Let's ensure we document everything meticulously," I suggested, glancing at the datapad where our observations were recorded. "This is not just about our understanding, it's about ensuring their story is told for generations to come." With a renewed sense of purpose, we resumed our documentation, capturing the nuances of our findings and the lessons embedded in the symbols. Each entry felt significant, a bridge that connected us to those who had walked these corridors long before us. As we worked, I felt a shift in the atmosphere. The ship seemed to hum with a gentle energy, almost as if it was aware of our efforts to honor its legacy. The symbols flickered softly, our path forward, and inviting us to continue our journey with intention. "I believe we're on the cusp of something truly transformative," Jonah said, glancing at us with a mix of excitement and reverence. "This experience has the power to shape not just our understanding of their civilization, but also our own identities." Dr. Wu's gaze was thoughtful. "If we can articulate these lessons clearly, we may inspire others to reflect on their choices and the connections they forge. Our journey does not end here. It's merely the beginning of a larger conversation." As we concluded our documentation, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. We had honored the ship's legacy by immersing ourselves in its story, forging a connection that transcended time. Looking around the chamber, I absorbed the beauty of the moment. The symbols, the energy, the shared commitment to understanding, it all intertwined, creating a tapestry that spoke to the enduring nature of human experience. "What do we do next?" I asked, my voice carrying a sense of anticipation. "We share our findings," Dr. Wu replied, her tone resolute. "We bring the lessons we've learned to the forefront, ensuring that this civilization is not forgotten. Their story can guide us, shaping our actions as we navigate our own challenges." I nodded, feeling the weight of her words. We were not simply documenting history. We were engaging with it, allowing it to influence our future choices. It was a responsibility we carried with honor. As we prepared to depart, I took one last look at the pulsating symbols, a silent promise echoing within me. We would carry their legacy with us, weaving it into our own narrative and sharing it with others. The ship had become more than just a vessel. It was a connection to the past that would guide us in the present and the future. With the datapad securely in hand and a renewed sense of purpose, we stepped away from the chamber, our hearts and minds forever altered by the journey we had undertaken. The ship hummed softly as we exited, a final acknowledgement of our commitment to honor its legacy. As we made our way through the corridors, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The lessons of the past were a foundation upon which we would build our future, a future that embraced the complexity of existence while striving for unity and understanding. In the depths of the ship's history, we had discovered not just stories of a civilization, but reflections of our own humanity. The connection we forged with the ship and its legacy would resonate far beyond these walls, shaping the choices we made and the relationships we nurtured. As we stepped back into the light, I felt a weight lift, replaced by a sense of purpose and hope. The journey had been transformative, and with every step we took into the future, we carried the echoes of those who came before us, a reminder that understanding, connection, and unity are the threads that bind us all. In this moment, I realized that the past and the future are not separate entities, but woven together, each influencing the other. As we continued our journey, I knew we would strive to honor that connection, ensuring that the lessons of the past would guide us in creating a more meaningful existence. The world ahead was filled with possibilities, and as we moved forward, I felt a renewed sense of commitment to nurturing the bonds that tie us together. We had become more than just travelers in time. We were storytellers, ready to share the legacy of those who came before us, the paths we would walk in the future. And so, with hearts aligned and minds focused, we embraced the journey ahead, confident that through understanding, we could create a future that reflected the beauty of connection and the depth of shared experiences.